Hola and welcome to a new episode of the Roofless Dog and Pony Show. My name is Julio Panisello. I am the dream alchemist at Roofless Painters, a free-range art school and gallery for creative nomads. In each episode, we feature the theme of our next painting collection so you can learn what we'll be painting next and also the reason why. We discuss the origin of the painting theme and its contemporary context, and we explore different possibilities for visual representation on our work using images of paintings throughout art history as inspiration and citing stylistic and historical references. So, yeah, and also this is Shamlu. She wants to say hello. Anyhow, in many ways, and this was a good example of that, in many ways our episodes are like our paintings, messy, unpredictable, and unvarnished. So anything can happen. All episodes can be found as video on Instagram or YouTube, and please just follow us on both of them. And also as podcast on any podcast platform. So you can just go to any podcast platform, Apple Podcast or Amazon Music, and then you just type the Roofless Dog and Pony Show and you'll see a bunch of episodes. You're welcome to contact us with any questions or comments about this episode, and also we welcome any additions, corrections, or notes that you think we missed or that we should have incorporated. Before we start with the presentation of the next premise or painting collection, we just wanted to mention the fact that we got named Best Painting Class in Los Angeles by Los Angeles Magazine, and we are thrilled and excited and thankful for whoever nominated us. The print issue is coming, we guess, the first week of August, but the article is already online, so they did a great job curating really wonderful local businesses and entities, and we are one of them. So we're thrilled and excited, and we just wanted to share that. So I'm just going to share the image, the inspiration image for this next painting collection. So usually during the week, in addition to painting, we try to be connected with anything that's related to painting, whether it's news about painting, exhibitions, or also images that are curated by people and collectives that we follow. And among them, there's this Instagram account, Les Jardins Robots, and we follow them, and they curate images of paintings, and this just came up and we stopped scrolling because we love this image. We've never seen this piece before. This is Joseph Cornell's Assemblage. It's from 1949. Joseph Cornell was an American artist, born in 1903. He passed away in 1972. And he is famous or well known for his boxes or assemblages, but mini installations, dioramas, if you will. He was considered the most important surrealist painters in America, although he didn't like to be classified or categorized as such. This is in the Art Institute of Chicago. They have a few pieces by him, and it is titled Twilight Swan. The title is actually in French, but last week we did wonderful portraits, monochromatic portraits of Barack Obama eating ice cream. We're still working on them. But we realized what a great opportunity it is to practice very limited color palettes. We thought that we would have plenty of time with the assignment or the premise, and we wouldn't know what to do with the remaining time. And the fact is that we didn't have enough time, and we were just working with black, white, and gray. So it was a great exercise because we didn't have the challenge to study color, process the raw material on our palette, create a new palette that would be close to the subject that we were observing. So it felt really good. It was actually really nice to be able to concentrate on the drawing. So when we saw this, not only we thought this was so beautiful and whimsical and delicate and interesting, but we thought that perhaps this image in blue and white, if you will, could be a good inspiration for a new collection of paintings. So we're going to show you some examples of paintings of swans throughout art history, but this is going to be the premise for next painting collection. We're going to bring images of swans and we're going to make them blue and white. So we're going to use ultramarine blue and white to create monochromatic paintings of swans. The title for this collection is Blue Swans, and it's going to be inspired by this Joseph Cornell's wonderful assemblage of an image. There is a blue glass over the image. You can't tell, but there is a fake rhinestone on the tip of the wing of the swan. So he glued 2 rhinestones, but one got lost and there's only one remaining. There's also the materials are interesting. Backing board with attached wood frame. So essentially he just picked up a board and then he put the frame, he nailed it. And then there's a glass front. So there's obviously a blue glass. There's velvet. There's a reproduced engraving, which we guess it's the actual image of the swan behind the blue glass. There's graphite. We can't see it, but maybe there's something written on the wood, on the back. Who knows? And also there is mirror. So we just can't see the mirror. We have we have a roofless painter who is actually going to join us tonight, and he lives currently in Chicago. So we are going to ask him to go to the Art Institute and see if he can actually go and see this piece. It will be interesting. The piece is very small, 14 by 15, so it's not a very big piece, but his pieces were not monumental. So there's also something very interesting about the piece. He was very much fascinated, just also something that we wanted to mention, because we haven't done portraits of animals in a while, and we haven't done portraits of paintings of birds in a while, and we generally do that somewhat frequently, I would guess. I think the last one was the swallows. So yeah, it's interesting. It would be interesting to move from a formal portrait of a person to a painting of an animal. And so Cornell was fascinated or obsessed with birds. For him, they symbolized a yearning for freedom, let's say. His life was quite strange because he was not a very social, gregarious person. He pretty much spent his life taking care of his brother, who had cerebral palsy, and his mother. And he lived a very not very public life. Let's put it this way. So there is there are writings about how his artistic expression. He was self-taught. The fact that he used boxes, containers, and things that are essentially contained, for lack of a better word. Some people have said that they're expressions or extensions of his own personal life, and how he never really traveled. He never really sort of like expanded, or he was friends with a lot of surrealists that fled Europe after the Second World War and came to the U.S. So he did have like connections, I would guess, or relationship with some of those artists. But his life was very much he was a recluse. Yes, a recluse. He was anyhow. So he was fascinated with birds because they represented for him this idea of like being able to fly away or just leave our limitations and then just have a different experience. So in addition to that, the symbology of beauty and loyalty at the same time. So it's interesting to see curators write about his work and connecting his work with his personal life. He also befriended a lot of ballerinas, and this is a piece that he made after he saw Swan Lake, an outdoor performance of Swan Lake by one of the dancers. The prime dancer was Russian. No, she wasn't Russian, by the way. Let me just find out exactly. Her name was Tamara Turnanova, and this was a tribute that he created for her after he watched her dance in an outdoor production of Swan Lake, which he attended. And I'm reading now from one of the catalogs, I think, from the actual website, the Art Institute of Chicago's website. So its spare elegance, the contrast of the simple rustic frame with the picturesque intricacy of the wooden landscape and the various light effects created by the blue glass and the mirror seem to recreate the experience of open-air ballet. The swan itself fills the foreground and appears at home in its natural setting, but is simultaneously distanced from it by the blue moonlight, its identity with the ballerina indicated only by a brilliant, clear gemstone. A second one is now lost. Cornell has here restricted his incorporation of the delicate and decorative materials associated with the ballerina's presence, which elsewhere include feathers and sequins, to this artificial diamond, a conceit in keeping with the paradoxical nature of the event. So let me just kind of like go ahead and show you some images, but essentially for those of you who are joining right now, we're just going to bring images, photographs of swans, and instead of black and white, there will be no color on those images. There will be a blue and white, and we'll just practice a very restricted monochromatic palette of these wonderful birds. So all the images of paintings of birds that we got, well, except one. Actually, let me just start with this one, because this is an image that we saw 2 years ago. I think it was the Whitney, I don't know which museum. No, it wasn't the Whitney. The Guggenheim perhaps did a retrospective of Swedish artist Hilma af Klint. She lived between 1862 and 1944, and she is finally credited for being the first modern abstract painter before Kandinsky, because it was always Kandinsky, the one who started the abstraction, but he wasn't. It was her. And she also has pieces with figurative elements, but this painting stood out for us at the time, and we just wanted to bring this painting and bring her up as an example of swans as subjects in paintings, and also treat it in this way with a very limited palette. So that's one example. This was painted, I don't know the year, we don't know the year, but yeah, that's an example of swans with a limited color palette. And then we are also, yeah, of course, Berthe Morisot, the French impressionist artist and painter. She has also paintings with birds. She used to go to the park a lot when it was allowed, I guess, during daytime, and with a companion always. And she painted subjects in the park. She has this wonderful painting of swans in the park, and we thought it would be a good example of not only subject in a painting throughout art history, but also a very limited palette of sorts. So you can see that everything is very much narrowed down to very cold tones, and also using her brilliant underdeveloped brushstroke to represent a very a very beautiful scene. Anyhow, just gonna go to another painting. This is oh, by the way, this is an image of it's blocking. I'm blocking the face, but this is an image of the ballerina that Joseph Cornell saw dancing and then created the piece, the assemblage for her. And her name again is Tamara Turmanova, and she was very famous at the time. She lived between 1919 and 1996. This is very interesting, by the way, because, and she was Georgian American. She was the prima ballerina at the Ballet Russe in Monaco, and she was discovered then by Balanchine, and he choreographed ballets with her as a prime ballerina, and she lived in Santa Monica. In fact, she is buried in the Hollywood Cemetery, with her mom. So she lived in Santa Monica. Balanchine also lived in Santa Monica until he died. So I'm just gonna move on to another painting that we found. Two female artists from South Africa. This painting, it's titled Black Swan. The artist's name is Maggie Lobzer. Maggie Lobzer lived between 1886 and 1973. 87 years old, and she was a South African painter. She's considered, along with Irma Stern. Irma Stern possibly is one of the most famous modernist painters from South Africa. Okay, so I think we're back. There was a little interruption. We were saying that Maggie and Irma are known for being responsible for the introduction of Expressionism to South Africa. So check out her work, Maggie Lobzer, Laubser, because it's absolutely wonderful. And, this has a lot of color, obviously, but we thought it would be an interesting... This was painted, by the way. This was painted in... we don't have the... we don't have the year, but that's okay. I'm just gonna see if the year, hold on one second, it comes up. I think I have it. Anyhow, I'm just gonna move to the next painting. Also, an artist from South Africa, a contemporary artist. This artist was born in 1972, I believe. This is titled Swan. It's an interesting, very Gerhard Richteresque rendition of a swan, in the sense that the image is blurred. But we brought it up because of the limited palette as well. I mean, there's some color, obviously, but there's something really interesting about that treatment. Yeah, so her name, the painter's name, is Catherine Bull, South African, born in 1974, and this is titled Swan, and it was painted last year, 2020. And so yeah, we were just mentioning, there's a lot of color, but we were mentioning how this reminds us, or it's possibly a good stylistic example of what we are trying to propose for this next painting collection, which is blue and white paintings of swans, essentially. So, and finally, let me see, I have oh yeah, we love this painting. So this is a British artist. Her name was Mary Potter, 1900 to 1981. I don't have the year of this painting, but we posted this a few weeks ago. On Sundays, we post a series of paintings that we call Sunday Service, in which we introduce paintings of landscapes, because we feel like during this past year we've been in lockdown, and it's been nice to explore nature through the eyes and the point of view of painters. So this is one of the paintings that we selected a few weeks ago that we posted on one of those Sundays. But when we were looking for images of swans, this came up again, and it was a nice serendipitous moment to bring this painting back and actually use it as a stylistic inspiration for our next painting webinar, Blue Swans. I mean, we could argue that the palette is somewhat restricted, just because there's not a wide chromatic range here, but there's, you know, there are some colors, and it feels very tonal. So in a way, there is a narrower chromatic range on this painting. But anyhow, so this is another example, and let me see if I have anything else. I think that's it. So I just brought an example of an image that we sourced. We'll just take this image, we'll turn it black and white, and then we'll apply a blue and white filter to it. And we'll have a collection of images on our folder, but also as usual and as always, this is open to anyone who wants to bring their own image of the swans. So I think, let me see, hold on one second. Yes, so Blue Swans, it's our next painting collection. The webinar is live tomorrow, Friday, but could be watched anytime thereafter. Please join us. It's 3 hours total, 2 hours painting, 1 hour exchanging ideas, giving constructive and positive feedback, providing notes so people can continue working on the painting. We rarely, I would say almost never, actually finish the painting in 2 hours. But the goal is to provide enough information and tips and advice, and so we can continue working on the painting a little bit longer. Blue Swans, thanks everyone who's still here for joining us live. This is always very nice. We appreciate that you took the time to join us. If you are watching the recording of this video, we encourage you to join as well the webinar. All levels welcome. We paint with oil, but you could just use any material really, because the instruction, it's pretty much usable by anyone using whatever kind of medium. So Blue Swans, next week's painting collection. We can wait to see the work. Bye, everyone.